Welcome to the Sustainable Jungle podcast. I'm Joy, and today I'm chatting with Daphna Nissenbaum, the co-founder of TIPA, a flexible packaging company that has been innovating with compostable flexible packaging for over a decade. Now, we obviously cover TIPA and Daphna's journey, and we also talk about the complexity and nuances of the industry and what it takes to be compostable, which is a super tricky and often misunderstood term. As always, you can find the show notes over at sustainablejungle.com/podcast. Now, let's talk compostable, flexible packaging with Daphna Nissenbaum. Hello, Daphna. Welcome to the show. Let's start by learning a little bit more about you. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Hi, first of all, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure being here today. So I'm Daphna. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TIPA. I was born in Israel, or I grew up in Israel, and now I'm talking actually from Israel. So yeah, that's who I am.
And now you've been driving TIPA since 2010, so it's been a while, but maybe you could share a little bit more about your career before TIPA. I understand that you come from a tech background.
Yes, I'm coming from a totally different tech background. So I'm a software engineer. I studied computer science. I also served in the Israeli Army and Navy in one of the elite computer science units for several years. And then when I left the Army, I worked again in computer science companies for several years. And then I had my first career change. And I joined the financial markets, and I was a CEO of a research center on risk management in capital markets in the biggest private university here in Israel. And then after 6 years, I actually initiated TIPA.
Oh, okay. So quite the journey and a range of careers and pathways.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so how did you come to realize that you wanted to do something about the plastic waste problem?
So I had this eager to do something by myself, significant to the world. And I was starting to think what would be, how do I find this thing? And I read an article that says that the biggest ideas are just, under your nose, someplace here around you. So just open your eyes. And one day I had a discussion with my children around the plastic bottles and other packages that they used to take to school back then. And I knew all the challenges and the debates around plastic. And I thought to myself, so what would be the most intuitive way to take food? Why do we use so much plastic when we know that there's no end of life solution to plastic? And we see all this waste surrounding us. And I went out jogging. And the first thing that I was thinking about it, and the first thing that came to my mind of packing foods in the right way was an apple. Because when I eat an apple and I throw the residuals to the waste bin, it just disintegrates and biodegrades by itself and turns into a new material. And it actually opened my eyes, and I said, okay, so nature also packed. Nature packed the oranges, the bananas, the nuts, etc., etc. And nature uses compostable packaging, so why won't we? And that's how it all started, the journey of finding the right solution to pack food, understanding the needs of the market, and how can we replace conventional plastic packaging with one that kind of emulates nature creation.
Amazing. And so that's a wonderful segue into TIPA itself. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Could you tell me what is it exactly and how did it get started? Well, I guess you've explained a little bit about how it got started, but maybe the process of sort of getting it going.
Okay. So, I learned a lot about the packaging industry and the plastic packaging industry. And the major challenge of this industry is what happens to the packages that we use post-consumption. We all think that there is a recycling system that works. Does it really work? What are the numbers and all that? So the major problem with the packaging industry is the end of life, as I said. What happens to the package after we use it. And we all know today that, plastic packages can live forever. Forever can be 100, 200, 1,000 of years. It doesn't really matter. It's a very long time after post-consumption. So the idea was to tackle that. And in order to tackle that, we had to invent a packaging solution that on one hand emulates compostable materials, equal to compostable materials, but on the other hand emulates conventional plastic because we need to pack food, etc., etc. So that's how it all started. So there were two huge goals: to be 100% compostable and to be able to pack food in a very good, light, and an economic manner. And in order to do that, I was looking for experts in the field of packaging, in the field of food, in the field of manufacturing polymers and films, etc., etc. So manufacturing, science, plastic engineering, etc., etc. And that's what we did. We recruited, very good people, built team that gained knowledge, and together came with a solution that today can pack food in very high quality packaging for packing food with fully compostable solutions.
And now looking at the TIPA website, there is a substantial product range. Perhaps you could share a little bit more about the different segments and the different applications that TIPA caters to.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So the flexible packaging industry, it's a huge industry, above $100 billion annually. So, and that industry is actually fragmented to many, many products. So if you look, just in a sense, packing bread is different from packing granola bar. It's different from packing bananas, etc., etc. So there's a variety of needs and variety of solutions that the industry uses today. And we started with tackling or focusing on several segments like fresh produce, dry foods, snacks, etc., etc., and then growing or actually widening our offering to the market. Today we have a set of films. So flexible packaging, we focus on flexible packaging. Flexible packaging, just to explain, it's all those soft packages that are produced from films, from reels of films. So just imagine, all the snacks, fresh produce, bread, all those soft packages. So we have a set of or portfolio of films that are the building blocks for those packages, and then based on those films, we can manufacture a very large variety of packaging solutions. So it can be a standard pouch, different types of standard pouch. We also have a zipper that is part of the standard pouch. Different types of bags, different types of wrapping films. So it can be a laminate, which is more complex for longer shelf life. It can be a single ply for fresh produce or bread. We provide longer shelf life, shorter shelf life, etc., etc. So all that variety that is needed today in the market is available based on our films, on our materials.
Right. And I've seen, so for example, on the fashion side, you've got examples of customers on the website like Stella McCartney, and on the food side, you've got examples like Natura. So there's quite a range of customers that use the TIPA products for different purposes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's different segments, food and fashion, and variety of clients, and each client has their own needs, which we work with the client, together with the customer, together with the brand, to actually provide the best solution, the one that will meet all the demands, including printing, including the claims that the brand can claim on the package, etc., etc. So we provide a full solution. We actually work hand by hand with the brand on the needs, provide a solution that is based on the new material, but it's a full. We look at it as a full project, because it's not easy. For a brand, it's not easy. Not easy decision, and not easy journey to change a package, specifically if it's based on new materials. So we provide the engineering knowledge, the marketing knowledge, the connection in the market that are needed in order to process the package. We work with converters, we work with extruders locally in all the territories that we work at, etc., etc. So I can say that as TIPA is a solution provider, work both with packaging manufacturers and brands to assist and to support and to walk through this journey in a smooth and easy way.
Got it. And now the most important and the critical value proposition of these flexible packaging products are that they are compostable, either in that industrial composting facility or, of course, home compostable. So could you talk us through what that means in practice and the difference between that industrial compostability or home compostability?
Yes. So those are two standards from home compostability, two standards by the industry that we have to meet all the strict demands in order to get the certificates: home compostability and industrial compostability. So industrial compostability, those are as the names actually says, it's industrial facilities with a systematic compost facility that takes organic waste and compostable materials in and provides compost at the end of the process after a specific period of time. Usually, the organic waste stream in each territory, the collection of the organic waste stream goes into compost facilities, industrial compost facilities. Right. There's also an option to compost the package in backyard compost bin or in neighborhood compost bin or food zone compost bin, etc., etc. The difference between the standards is that the industrial one has different conditions than the home condition, the home compost conditions. We have both on all our solutions, which enables the end consumer to use the organic waste stream if there is one, or to use a local facility if it's home, neighborhood, etc., to compost the package. The standards are different. It's more complex to get home compost facility certification than the industrial one. The conditions are more strict. We work with, we have presence in Australia, in North America, and in Europe, and there are different bodies in each one of those territories, but we work with all of them and provide the certificates to all our solutions. By the way, company or brand or package can claim for compostability only if the certificate is there. And that's part of the solution that we provide. We provide also the certificates for the compostability and, of course, food contact certificates.
Yeah, great. I want to talk a little bit more about the certification in a bit because I think that's super important. But before we do that, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more as well about compostability versus biodegradability, because that's also, it seems to be a point of confusion in the industry, the marketing of biodegradable packaging and compostable packaging. So what is the difference between a piece of packaging labeled as biodegradable versus a piece labeled as compostable?
Yeah. Look, biodegradable, there's no real definition for it. Everything is biodegradable. Does it biodegrade, I don't know, in 1,000 years or 100 years or 6 months? What is biodegradable? Compostable means that the material breaks down to small parts, monomers, and then those small parts consumed by bacteria, and nothing is left behind in a very limited period of time, a well-declared limited period of time, which is 6 months.
Right.
And that's it. That's it. Once you said that the material is compostable, that's what it means. It means it turns into compost within up to 6 months. It can be in 1 month, 2 months, but not more than 6 months. That's it. And to say biodegradable, I don't really. There's no clear declaration what it is. I don't know what is biodegradable. It can biodegrade to what and how long, and who's going to measure it and control it. Compostability means turns into compost in under certain conditions within a very specific, which are reasonable conditions, not 1,000 degrees, and I don't know, reasonable conditions within a very limited period of time, which is, by the way, a very short period of time. If we talk about conventional plastic, hundreds of years, we're talking about 6 months here. 6 months, there's no package up to 6 months. No, nothing left behind. No microplastic, nothing left behind.
So Daphna, you've alluded to this already. We've already talked about this briefly, but to illustrate why this is important, let's talk again about conventional flexible packaging for a moment, and just to highlight why this compostable packaging issue is exciting. This compostable packaging innovation, I should say, is exciting,
Yes.
because this is the problem I'm just trying to solve. So, from your perspective, what are the most concerning issues in this flexible packaging industry from a traditional perspective?
We've been using plastic for packaging. The numbers say around 60, 70 years. Okay, that's what industry uses as plastic, and the amounts increase dramatically year over year. Plus, we keep food from here to there, from China to Europe, from Europe to North America, etc., etc., and we in territories, etc. So packaging is definitely needed, right? There's no question around that. And we keep using plastic for packaging in general, and there's a huge amount of flexible packaging. I can mention the numbers in a second, which is keep growing. That's on one hand. On the other hand, there is the recycling system or the claim for recycling, right? If we look at the numbers that we keep seeing, it hasn't changed in the last 10 years, or the first publication was around 2017 by the World Economic Forum and other institutes, research institutes. What are the numbers around recycling? And we can see that the majority of the packages, not just flexible, the majority of the packages are not recyclable. The number now has been, and it's still 9%. 9% of packages are recycled, and around 1% was recycled twice from those 9%.
Wow.
And if we talk about flexibles, it's even less. And there's a reason for that. There are a few reasons for that. One, those packages are fully contaminated with food, post-consumption, the flexibles. So it's very hard to recycle the food packaging, if at all. The second thing is the recycling system works for pure polymers. So if there's one polymer, then it can recycle the package. If there's more than one polymer, there's no way to recycle the package. And very large portion, if not the majority of flexible packaging, involves few materials or few layers of materials that delaminates in one package. And therefore the package cannot be recycled. Plus adhesives, plus aluminium, plus inks, plus the contamination of the food. There's no way to recycle, and it's close to zero. The recycling rate on those more complex packages that are needed for shelf life, etc., etc. So this is reality. I guess no one questions that. There's no question around it. Flexible packages are, I don't want to mention the names here, but I'm talking to the biggest companies of the world, and they say we know there's zero recycling around flexible packaging. I was in a conference in Germany like two months ago, there was a huge slide by one of the biggest food manufacturers in the world says zero on recycling flexible packaging. So this is reality. Now we do the same. We use several materials in one package in order to provide all the properties that we need from the package. But all the materials that we use are compostable. So if you take this complex package structure and put it in compost, it all turns into compost in a very short period of time, and that's it. You solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and the other thing that bothers me is, of course, it doesn't always end up in landfill. It often ends up in other places like oceans and waterways, or it's just incinerated, right? So the problem is beyond just lack of recyclability. It's also sort of where it actually ends up, and breaks down into microplastics and so on. So yeah, I guess compostable flexible packaging feels like a complete no-brainer. But also, I guess this is an emerging industry, even though TIPA has been doing it for a good 10 years. But the industry in general seems to be more recently accused of greenwashing, and there's several reasons for that, including false claims, like some manufacturers claiming their packaging is home compostable when it's not really home compostable. And now you've talked a little bit about certification, so maybe we can talk a little bit about how you can trust that a brand or a manufacturer who's selling flexible compostable packaging is genuinely home compostable. You would obviously look for certification. And I understand that certification for TIPA is the TUV OK Home Cost Home Certified. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so how do they do their what's their process look like for certifying? Do they test in home composting conditions? Is it quite robust?
Yes. So we do it in Europe, and it's acceptable in North America as well. What we do is, on all our products, and it's both for home and industrial. It's different tests for home and industrial, but we send the materials and the packages to a certified laboratory that runs the tests. It takes around 6 months, or sometimes even more. And only then, when the tests are over, the TUV or the INSERTCO or other bodies or institutes provide a certificate after testing the tests and making sure that we met all the conditions. So and we don't have we don't sell products without certification.
Right. And they presumably will make that allowance for the variability with home composting, because I imagine not every home composting heap is the same.
Yes, they test it. I mean,
yeah,
that's a test. There's a standard, the European standard, and then
right. Yeah. So the other source of controversy is around the risk of end users and potentially customers doing the wrong thing. If they're trying to dispose of the packaging, for example, they may see the label as compostable and just throw it in their green waste when really the packaging can only be composted in an industrial facility. Or they may assume that it's actually recyclable when it's not because it's compostable. Or maybe they just send it to landfill because they don't care or they don't know better. Or worse, they may just throw it in nature or waterways. So, the end use might not always be as intended. So would you say that's a fair description of a problem in the compostable packaging industry? And how does TIPA try to address that with customers and end users?
So first of all, it also exists today, not just with compostables. There is a confusion. There is a confusion with conventional plastic, with paper, it's a problem that exists today with no direct connection to compostable
For sure.
solutions. Of course, it exists also with compostables. There is a confusion. There might be a confusion. Look, we make sure that on each package it says that the package is compostable. What it means, I mean, there's a barcode that can direct the customer. It depends on the brand if they want to publish it, yes or no, but usually that's what we do. I always say, if I look at it, more in a macro way, we are in a revolution phase. So not everybody understands what compostable is, and not everybody understands, what to do here and there, etc. But it's a process. It's a process, and it's a journey that we as industry or society or people who care about the world need to start walking in this direction. And eventually volumes and more companies and more educational processes or more products, once we have more products in the market and the consumers will see and understand better, then then it will, everything will work better, right? So of course, at the beginning, there is a confusion, and there's more education needed as in all fields, not just in compostable. I mean, in all fields, all segments or all sub-segments. This is the right thing to do. This is the right way to pack flexible packaging. Let's do it. Eventually, we'll reach all those huge goals that we're looking to have right now, but it's still too early for the whole world to understand and be there. Right? It's a process. It's a process because when we have to be, if you look at over history on similar revolutions, the car revolutions, the electric car revolution, when the first car was actually invented, there weren't any roads or traffic lights or even gas stations. That's an evolution that takes process and sometimes time, or always time. And it's not TIPA to educate the whole world. It cannot be. We are, as you said, we are the inventors. We bring the solution. We help the brands on messaging, on how to educate their clients, etc., etc. And as we continue to grow the usage and to grow the market and to work the exposure to compostable packaging, it will be easier for everyone. Will come and stand out at the end of the day. That's my dream. So, we can be attacked on a few things that even exist today with conventional plastic or other solutions, but eventually it's a process. And if we're doing the right thing, let's continue doing the right thing. Eventually it will win.
Absolutely. And I just think, it makes me think about just our home waste collection services. We've only just managed to get green waste bins that actually collect compostable items like food waste. And that's only just come in the last couple of years. And it's such a no-brainer that it makes you think, like, how did we not always do it this way? But it is a journey. And a lot of people are still not really fully sure how to use that green waste bin because it's just such a big change from what folks usually do. Yeah. So yeah, it is just a complete mindset shift, and it will take a little bit of time. But for the record, I spent some time on your website, and I found that your FAQ section was really helpful. So if anyone's listening and wants to know how they should handle the TIPA, products or the packaging, it's really clear on the website if you follow the instructions and go through and have a look through. And it explains exactly what to do with the different type of packaging. So that's really handy, a really useful piece of education there. But Daphne, I want to talk about one last thing that I think is probably serves as a concern for some of those out there. Is the use of polymers as an input, which are made from fossil fuels. So I understand that that TIPA products are between 20 to 80% bio-based, and the remaining percentage is made of compostable fossil-based polymers. So I expect that the decision to use these polymers is driven by the trade-off for functionality. But maybe you could share your thoughts on that and talk us through why this is the current approach at TIPA.
Yes, sure. So, it's a question that I've been keep hearing from the market. Let me just clear two things before I answer the direct question. So the resource of the material of every polymer can be bio-based or fossil-based, right? We can have bio-based materials. I mean, we see that there are bio-based materials based on renewable resources, but are conventional plastic. So that doesn't solve the end-of-life problem. It's a regular plastic made from bio-based materials. So eventually, the package will still, remain here forever in places where we don't want to see the package, right? It might be landfill or other places, or I don't know, or the ocean, etc. So it's conventional plastic made from bio-based. We use only compostable polymers. Now we source the polymers, some made from us, etc. And usually the compostable polymers, sometimes it's 100% bio-based. Sometimes it's a combination between it's partly bio-based, partly fossil-based. It's the polymers, and you are very right. It's needed for the durability of the package, for gaining the properties that are needed in order to protect the food, for example. Packaging, it's a very complex technology. It looks easy, right? It's a bag. I take this bag, but it's not a bag. It's a package, and the package needs to have very strong sealing abilities, tearing resistance, for example, transparency, food contact, barriers to prevent oxygen and water vapor coming in and out from the package, etc., etc. And we, in order to replace conventional plastic package, we need to have all those properties as good as conventional plastic. Otherwise, we won't be able to protect the food or the other goods as well as conventional plastic. So there is kind of a tension between durability or reaching all those important properties, and sometimes it's bio-based, sometimes it's compostability. I mean, so you're very right in terms of using a fossil based. By the way, there are companies who don't want to use bio-based materials because it's sometimes there's a claim that it comes on instead of food, instead of using the materials for food, the biomaterials. So there's also debate around that, but I'm not getting into this debate. I'm just saying that today our packages are partially bio-based, partially fossil-based in order to reach two main things, and it's processability on the machines and good protection of the goods. I mean, really good packing functionality.
It's like most things. There's a trade-off, especially as we move to a new era. It's a similar sort of argument to solar powers and the energy transition. It's like we know that solar panels and wind turbines themselves are not inherently sustainable in terms of their production, but we have to do it right now. There's no better alternative, and we have to make that decision. But longer term, we need to still try and find better ways of doing it. But right now we need to move kind of quickly because the problem is kind of urgent. So, it's a trade-off. And I think, we exist in an imperfect world with imperfect problems. So, I understand the tension there for sure. But I imagine that, as we move to decarbonize and move towards a fossil-free future, TIPA will continue to innovate and try and find alternatives. Is that sort of the intent?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. To be able to provide a larger bio-based portion, if the brand is looking for more bio-based portion in the package, increase the bio-based portion.
And I'm sure folks will ask as well, once composted, how does TIPA guarantee the safety of the compost, for their veggies or whatever, given the inputs?
The tests of compostability include non-toxic tests.
Right.
So
okay.
we have to pass that as well.
Right. So perfectly safe.
Plus we provide a food contact certificate. So no worries there.
It has to be safe for food as well, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And now you already touched on this, but an important thing to mention is that TIPA's products and the materials and process is completely compatible with existing plastic processing and packaging lines all over the world, not just in Israel, or in China, I'm not sure, but all over the world. So that's quite interesting. So what is the benefits of that approach from your perspective?
Yeah. So, as I described in the beginning of this conversation, I'm a software engineer, so I'm coming from the software industry, and I brought this way of thinking to the company. working in kind of, I wanted to see that build a company that enables technology to grow widely, globally, and not be touched to specific machine here in Israel or someplace else in the world. So we provide the technology, the knowledge. We have all the knowledge that around compostable solutions, how to manufacture materials. We have IP, strong patents to protect our materials, which are the films, but we don't manufacture ourselves. We manufacture with third parties. So this way we actually collaborate with the existing industry, conventional plastic industry. So we manufacture the films, which are innovative materials in Australia, in Europe, and in North America. And then we convert the films to packaging with converters in those three continents. In order to do that, in order to work in this model, we had to make sure that our materials run in the same way on conventional plastic machinery as conventional plastic. That was part of our goals in developing the materials. So it's the same yields, the same experience working with the films and and packing the goods, etc., etc. So there is kind extensive and aggressive supply chain around packaging, right? So manufacturing the films and then the laminates and then converting and then packing. So all those machines and supply chain, we made sure that we can run as regularly on those machines. So and regularly and everyone. I mean, with different types of partners, converters and extruders, those who manufacture the film.
Also saves new equipment from being made, which is obviously wasteful. So
yes,
it's got its own zero waste angle there too.
Yeah, we I believe that bringing a new innovation like ours can really work in high volumes or scale only if you integrate to the ecosystem that exists out there already. And when I say ecosystem, that's the manufacturers, that's the brands, that's the end consumers, and the waste management. So your solution needs to be easily implemented to all those stakeholders. So waste management, we just implement ourselves. I mean, the product needs to be discarded in organic waste stream, which exists for food waste, not for compostable packaging, but it's part. We just integrate to this system, to the food waste collection. To manufacture films, we manufacture on conventional blown or cast machines. So that's done. We work with existing converters and those who manufacture the package, convert the film into a package. And we also very user-friendly to the manufacturers in terms of the materials run like conventional plastic machines, and to the end consumer at home. The same experience from the package. So, only being very easy to implement, to adopt, and no extra money and time needs to be invested in new machines or new processes. I believe that this is the way to grow. Be easy. That's also kind of a phrase from software. Transparent to the user. Be transparent. Just change one by one conventional plastic with ours, and that's it. Good to go. So that's how we developed, the materials, the solutions, and the business model.
Really helps to have that diverse thinking of different experiences and different inputs from different people, doesn't it, to solve new problems?
Yes.
Or solve all problems.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to ask whether you, and I realize this is quite an arbitrary concept, but the concept of impact, whether TIPA thinks about impact, whether you measure it, and if you do, what approach do you use?
We mainly measure, the amount of plastic, conventional plastic that we prevented.
Right.
From
that's the obvious one. Yeah.
being manufactured.
Yeah.
That's simple because we're looking at the end of life. That's our main goal. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you about, given I'm sure you are super tapped into the industry, any other packaging innovations out there that you're super optimistic about?
I think there's a lot going on, and
Yeah,
I'm
mushrooms.
I'm I'm trying to be optimistic. There's still objectives in the market, but objections in the market, but um, I see a lot around food service, um, single-use plastic,
Hmm.
and food service. I see a lot of development there, which is very interesting, and I think it's very helpful to get rid of all those single-use plastic utensils, plates, cups, etc., etc. Um, I see a lot of going on around nets or solutions like this. I encourage, everything that actually eliminates packaging. If packaging is not needed, that's very important in my eyes. Um, and there are many discussions around packaging, which is good. It actually increases the awareness. So there's a lot of going on, not enough,
Not enough.
not enough support from, not enough support from the government and everywhere. In my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have to be more aggressive.
Hmm.
We have to be more aggressive. There's a window in time now. Otherwise, it will be irreversible. So there's a window in time, but we need to be more aggressive in taking actions. And every action, is important. And of course, there's a lobby against all we do, a very strong lobby. But I believe that the right solutions will win.
And what's exciting is that we know that the right solutions for this time and place are scalable and available now. So there's no
Yes.
need to wait for
Yeah.
something
No.
else to come along right now.
No. Yeah. Technology is ready. It's scalable. Already manufactured with big players in the market.
Yeah, it's there. So I think this is a
Yeah.
good time to change direction and talk a little bit about your perspective as an entrepreneur. So you've been doing this a long time now, so well over a decade. What reflections could you share on being a female entrepreneur in the packaging industry, which I imagine is quite male dominated? Perhaps you can take that. You can take that wherever you like, but I imagine you've had some challenges as well as some triumphs.
Yes, I had challenges, but in my eyes, I have to be the best. I have to be, to ignore everything and just do the best and fight and continue leading as I do. And I don't care what other people think or say. I just don't care. There are challenges though, but I try to, overcome the challenges by being professional and professional and good in what I do.
It's always a good response. And are there any there any tips, tricks, hacks, or any ideas that you can share for aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are thinking of starting a mission-based business like yours?
Well, there are many. I always say one day I'll write a book on this journey, uh, and I'll have many episodes in the book. It's a roller coaster, going up and down. I think with more failures than wins. Um, but eventually, one thing is, I want to say, keep reliable to the core idea. I mean, what you're trying to do, keep fighting on that. No one can change that. I mean, you need to be flexible and change if needed, but you know, be be reliable and think always about the core idea. Why are we here? What are we doing? What is the purpose of the big purpose or the big mission? Yeah, it's never easy. There are always people who will say, "Oh, give up, never do it." But believe in yourself and believe on the way. And sometimes there is success, sometimes no. We all know that. But at least you try to do the right thing and you stick to that. That's one thing. The second thing is, work with people, because it's never one person. It's first of all a good team to win with, and good mentors to work with. People who've done it before, who have experience, who can, shortcut the challenges.
On this journey that you've been on, have you had any particular or standout inspiration from any organizations or individuals that have inspired you along that journey?
Well, there are many success stories that are very inspiring. Big companies, right. We all know them. Yeah, I see people, you see companies that succeeded, wow, greatly. But then you read their story, or you learn about their story. They had so many challenges, and until you get to success, there's so much to do and go through before you get to the light to the success light. So it's very important to understand that building your own business, it's full of challenges, day in, day out. And glory is tiny at the end, maybe. But it's going, I always say I have to go baby steps, but look at the horizon. And that's what I do. Baby steps in solving all day-to-day problems, but always look at the horizon. This is the big mission that we're all here for. And it's, for me, it's not an easy journey, but it's because I believe in the mission, then I keep leading it, and keep fighting for it. And I believe eventually it will happen. I don't know if it will take 2 years or 10 years, but and I hope it will be 2 years.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
So what's next for TIPA? What's next towards the end of 2023 and 2024? What's coming for you guys?
So we just launched new products, which are the barrier films, which is very important for the. That's the holy grail of the industry, which the industry was lacking, the compostable packaging industry. So we just launched those unique, tremendous products, and I'm looking. We're looking to grow the market, to grow our appearance in the market in the territories that I mentioned. We're just relatively new in North America and Australia. Looking forward to take big steps there, and hopefully have more and more brands working with us, and then consumers who look for TIPA's material, for TIPA's products. Yeah.
So keep scaling, keep taking over the world.
Keep scaling. Yeah. Yes.
And Daphna, this is the last serious question, but one that we ask on every episode, and it's a little bit of a doozy, so apologies in advance. But if you could have one message or piece of advice truly heard by everyone on the planet, what would it be?
I'm talking from TIPA's perspective, of course, or from the industry perspective, not TIPA's industry perspective. Try to use the right materials.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, try to consume products that are based on the right materials. Even if you think they will not contribute anything, it will. Maybe not immediately, but in the journey of the whole world to change what we do. But just think of consuming. The products that you consume will be based on the right materials.
Absolutely. It's a very appropriate one.
Think about the future. Yeah, think about the future. Maybe you have to pay 1 cent more now, but to have a brighter future.
So, Daphna, thank you for that. That's a great answer. How can folks listening support TIPA or follow along the ever evolving sustainable packaging journey?
Ask the brands that you work with. What type of packages do they use? We are happy to work with everyone. You can find us in our website, and encourage everyone around you to do the right thing and use packages made from the right materials, based on the right materials.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. Daphne, that's it. Thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been a complete education, and I'm very grateful for the time and for the learnings on the compostable packaging and flexible packaging industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much, and I appreciate your time and the efforts, and thank you very much.
As you likely know by now, my dear listeners, we always love to hear about the journeys and stories of people who are getting out there and making things better, especially when it comes to tackling our waste problem. We hope that you found this episode interesting and can now chew off your mate's ear about the difference between compostable and biodegradable. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.